Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sportscenter Bar and Grill. Sportscenter Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sportscenter rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sportscenter, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sportscenter Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar. Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. You're listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.com, or on the Scott Nason YouTube channel. You may have also got here through our Facebook or Instagram page. Nonetheless, I want to say thank you for joining us here tonight. We are here live for the Wednesday edition of the Game Sports Show from SportsCenter Bar and Grill, named the Sioux's best sports bar for the third year in a row, which is well-deserved. We are here for its famous wing night. 75-cent wings here at SportsCenter Bar and Grill, and they also have delicious beer on tap and great service and just great all-around atmosphere. If you are not a part of SportsCenter right now or haven't been a part of SportsCenter, you have to make it a part of your atmosphere here today for the Sioux's best sports bar for 3 years in a row. And like I said, we're here live. It's Wednesday, December the 19th, 2018. It is 6 days before Christmas. And people are asking, okay, Christmas is around the corner. What does that mean for the Game Sports Show? And quickly to send listeners a little reminder here, we're going to be at SportsCenter Bar and Grill throughout the holidays. We do have a schedule change next week on the 27th. We're going to be here at noon, opposed to being here on Boxing Day, the 26th. And then we'll be back to the regular schedule going forward as we get into the thick and deep things of the National Football League. For the Northern Superior Brewery Edition and for the Icebreaker Edition, we will be back after the new year. We'll be back January 3rd at Northern and January 6th at Icebreakers. And for the Wicked Sister, I do have the confirmation for the correct day that we'll be back there. It'll be January the 14th. Myself and Scott will be back at the Wicked Sister. So now, with having the one show for the week for the holidays, I'm going to give the listeners a little Christmas treat and a little bit of a surprise. We're going to bring in Brad Coccimiglio here for the first time being on the Wednesday show, right at the introduction portion of this show. We're going to talk a little bit of World Juniors and a little bit of hockey, just to give the listeners some hockey reaction, a little hockey news, because, you know, it's definitely most needed. And obviously going into Christmas, we have starting Boxing Day, the World Juniors, and to get Brad's reaction with that. And throughout the holidays, keep an eye for Brad and Craig Hartsburg's little special upload editions powered by Icebreakers and Northern Superior Brewing Company. And that's going to be on the first part of the show. And going into the later edition of the show, we're going to have Jamie Antonello coming on by, and hopefully Matt Primo is able to join as well. We're going to get into our In the Pocket segment. We're going to talk about the previous week in football and the upcoming week in the big weeks of football as the playoff picture is starting to get real smaller. We're starting to see the teams that are going to be pulling away. And then we're also going to talk about the Toronto Raptors to conclude tonight's show. And based on time, we're going to see if we have any time for a roundtable discussion as well before we conclude tonight's show. Now, without further ado, before I continue on the introduction portion here, I want to bring in the guy with the great hair, great smile, great eyes. He's wearing the hat backwards, even though it's bad radio to say what someone's wearing. Guess what? I'm going to do it anyways. He's wearing the hat backwards tonight. He's looking great. Brad, the one and only. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I always say, anytime I get an intro like that, how can I not be in a good mood?
No, for real, right? And we have a great atmosphere at Sportscenter. You got the Christmas tree up. You got Santa Claus on the beer taps there. Yeah. You got the beautiful Alicia White here serving us, as always. Greatness with serving from Alicia and from the Sportscenter staff. There's a Christmas parties going on here, and if you have a Christmas party, don't hesitate to reach out to Frank Ligori and Sportscenter to book your Christmas party here today. Now that we're going to be doing a little bit of hockey on this show, just for tonight, it's just a little special sneak in here as SportsCenter has a hockey night at SportsCenter. You have a chance to win 2 tickets for the Toronto Maple Leafs against the New York Islanders Saturday, December the 29th, and also Saturday, January the 12th, as Toronto plays against the Boston Bruins. You come to SportsCenter Saturdays in December. 1 ballot per customer. You must be 18 years of age or older to enter. Draws will take place 10 days before the game for these respective draws. Now, going to see Toronto, that is definitely a hot ticket nowadays, especially with the deep roster that they have. And as listeners know, we don't typically talk about hockey on this Wednesday show, as that's usually saved for the Monday, Thursday, and also the Sunday show, mostly with our Thursday and Sunday show. But the reason why I want to bring Brad in, and also through Craig throughout the holidays as well this edition, because of the World Juniors, and just give listeners a little update with some local hockey and some National Hockey League discussion to give the listeners a little bit of an extra treat, as we're only down to 1 show a week until the new year in 2019, until the first week of January, where it all picks back up to 4 shows a week once again. Now, Brad, I wanted to say first, the World Junior team is selected. The Thunderbirds still have a game before the Christmas break. They play on Friday, which is December the 21st at 7:30 against Espanola before their Christmas break. And also we have some video review discussion that we're going to get into for our hockey chat. It's going to be about 15 minutes. I know you also have to go to you have a friend that came in from out of town, then you can go visit him. So we're going to keep you just for about 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to go to break, and we'll bring in the remaining guys to talk about football and get into our In the Pocket segment here. So, Brad, first time at Sportscenter, though. In terms of doing a show, it is a little different. You know, we want to give the listeners a little teaser and a little extra, you know, on this show, a little extra mayo on the sandwich, if you will, or a little bit of extra cheese on the pizza, or a little bit of extra sauce on the wings. I'll stop with the analogies. Brad, how do you like it here at SportsCenter?
Hey, it's lively. There's a couple of big groups in, and it's good to have a little atmosphere, and it's always fun to have a little extra group around.
It's definitely a lot of bangers in the background. And what I mean by that, the jams going on here. We got some Sweet Home Alabama. We had Queen play. And we're talking about Bohemian Rhapsody. This place sparks good conversation here.
Yeah.
It's a great atmosphere. I always give Frank the gears about that Montreal Canadiens logo on the top above us there. But, hey, that's all the love in terms of sports. So, Brad, I want to jump into talk about the Thunderbirds here for a second. They got a game against Espanola this weekend before the break. The boys must be excited to have the Christmas break. I remember when I played in junior hockey, it is very exciting to have that Christmas holiday to regroup, visit family, friends, whatever it may be. Majority of players are from Sault Ste. Marie, so they have that luxury. So, in terms of playing a hockey game, are they excited to go into the break with a bang, or are they going to be a bit more looking towards the Christmas break? What are you predicting from the Thunderbird squad for the last game before the break?
You know, I think every team wants to go into the break on a high. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you kind of want to end things off on a good note and kind of send yourself into the break on a good note, but it's not easy. And, depending on the level, it's not easy. I mean, the Thunderbirds are lucky that they have a good chunk of local guys. So, guys, it's not like major junior where you have a lot more guys looking forward to going home. In the Greyhounds case, let's say last weekend, they play in Hamilton, and, in that case, their bus coming back, there are very few people on it because, all the players essentially just stay down in Southern Ontario. So, for the Thunderbirds, it's a little different. A lot of guys are from here, so, for them, they're not going far. So it's a little easier to, kind of end things off where you're not, you're looking ahead to the break, but it's not like you're looking forward to going home because you're already playing at home. Yeah. So for the Thunderbirds, it might be a little easier because it's tough this time of year to focus on hockey because let's face it, it's Christmas time, and especially that game, right? Santa
Claus is coming to town.
Yeah, it's a Friday night before Christmas. I mean, let's face facts here. Christmas Day is next Tuesday, so that's 5 days or whatever before Christmas. So it's going to be tough. It's the break is always a little bit of a distraction, but at the end of the day, you got to go out and play. And I'm sure John Parko is going to have these kids ready to go, and these guys are going to want to go into the break with a win. And they've had a good year to this point, and I'm sure they're going to want to keep that going into the Christmas break.
Johnny's going to be on them to end that in a bang. They had their previous game against Rayside where they lost 4-2. Now, the Hounds transitioning over to the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. They're off until the 28th. We've talked about that on our Sunday edition at Icebreakers, which will all be back at Icebreakers till January the 6th. The Hounds, they resume skating on the 27th. I think they all return, Brad. Is that true? Do you know?
They're in Boxing Day.
Okay.
All the guys are coming back Boxing Day. They're planning to practice that night, get a quick skate in, probably nothing major. They'll probably get maybe a quick 20-minute, half-hour skate in just to, kind of get their legs back after being off for, at that point, close to 2 weeks. And they'll practice Thursday and then on the ice Friday for a game against Saginaw. So, I mean, for them, it's, as hot as they were and as well as they've played, they're looking forward to going into the break. John Dean has said that's, that break's going to be good for them just to kind of get away from the rink, spend some time with the family. It'll be good for them. Sometimes the question is, you're playing so well. Do you want to have a close to 2 week break at this point? And it's good for the players. These guys have played a lot of hockey over the last few months. I mean, you come in late August and you're pretty much on the ice close to every day from the end of August to basically the middle of December. So for them the break will be good for them, and I'm sure they'll come back ready to go in a week.
Now, they're out a couple guys, for the World Juniors, and we're transitioning over to that. And Brad Coccimiglio, obviously the writer with Sault Today, and obviously also with Sportsnet, the Game Sports Show's own Brad Coccimiglio. I like to throw that in there with the Sportsnet and Sault Today, and I'm sure Sportsnet and Sault Today don't mind me throwing my little plugs in there. But besides that, you can definitely check in, as Brad is the main point of contact, in my opinion, when it comes to getting the coverage with local sports, especially with those Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, the flag being directly across from us, hang up on the wall here at Sportscenter Bar and Grill. Frank Ligori is a big follower of the Hounds. Now, World Juniors, we got the roster set. We found out today that Velarde is going to be out. Alexis Lafreniere is going to play, 17-year-old from Wamunski. I believe he's playing over in Wamunski. Sure, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, I'm sure that I'll be getting chirped for that. But obviously playing over in the queue, 17 years old. Big guy, though, 6'1", 192 pounds. His draft year is 2020, and I think from what I understand based on scouting reports, a lot of people are giving him the nod of being that first overall pick potentially in that draft, just based on the talent that he is, from what I'm understanding. But they got a good team rounded out with Maxime Comatois from Drummondville. They got Morgan Frost from the Hounds. They have Barrett Hayden from the Hounds, Cody Glass from Portland, Nick Suzuki from Owen Sound, Owen Tippett from Mississauga, Joe Faleno, Detroit Red Wings pick. They stole him at 30, in my opinion, with Drummondville. You have on defense Evan Bouchard, Edmonton Oilers pick. You have Noah Dobson with Katie Bathurst.
And the interesting thing about that is Noah Dobson actually is expected to be part of a 3-team trade after the World Juniors. This is starting to get reported. I believe it was in the last couple days. They're looking at. I believe he's basically on the move. It's looking like it's looking like a 3-team deal. I'd have to look it up offhand, but his days in Acadie Bathurst are numbered. The kid's a player. The kid's an absolute beast. He was probably one of the kids in last year in Regina. He was probably one of the kids I had the most fun watching. As far as defensemen come, the New York Islanders got an absolute gem in that kid. And he was a kid that, if the Detroit Red Wings had been picking in that area, he was a guy that I wanted. And it's a weird situation because it's, when the Wings were picking early in the first round, the talk was they were going to go after a defenseman, and that all changed when Philip Zadina ended up dropping to their spot.
You can't pass that up.
And he's a guy that you cannot pass up on. In that situation, if they had not taken Philip Zadina, I was hoping they were going to take Noah Dobson. That's how good that kid is.
Definitely good. I got my eye on Ty Smith from Spokane as well, who's a New Jersey Devils draft pick. Very excited to see him, the Mike DiPietro, and Ian Scott. Ian Scott being a Toronto Maple Leaf prospect. Now, I'm going to say something before we jump into your analysis quickly about this, Brad, about this team. And I tweeted this yesterday on my Twitter, but a lot of people don't know I have Twitter because I don't really promote it a whole bunch because I haven't been on it since, and believe it or not, I've been on it since 2016. Sorry, Twitter. I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram. So I might not have the number of followers that I'd like to have. But so if you have my Twitter, first off, follow me at David J.R. McCaig. Now, I put on there because James Duffy said on TSN yesterday that Nick Suzuki had the most points out of the Ontario Hockey League in the last couple of years in total. If you read my tweet and look at the stats, there's somebody else named Morgan Frost who actually had more points than Nick Suzuki the past 2 years. So I want to give that a little shout out to James Duthie and to TSN getting the stats wrong, that Morgan Frost, Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds' own, actually, in fact, had more points, Brad. I don't know if you heard about that yesterday. I'm sure you didn't read my tweet, but Morgan Frost, what happened? Where's the publicity for the Hounds there? Where's the love? And where's the real facts there? Morgan Frost love right there.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I get where you're coming from. I mean, I know James Duthie is, he's very well in tune with stuff. And,
yes, he is.
It's one of those things, right? It's, Nick Suzuki's numbers over the last 2 years have also been absolutely outstanding. So, I mean, that's a mistake that gets made sometimes.
Yeah. I love chirping. Even the professionals make errors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure you're not the only one he heard from on that, and I have no doubt about that. Both guys I'm sure are going to have big tournaments and be big pieces for that Canadian team. And Alexis Lafreniere, I mean, the kid's a player. The kid's an absolute player. I've seen a little bit of him this year, watching him online, and the kid's gonna be an absolute gem for them this year, and he's gonna be a kid that's probably gonna be, he's probably gonna maybe start out in maybe a bottom 6 role, but he's a kid that could fill in pretty much in any spot, and that's a team that doesn't have much experience. Maxime Comtois of Drummondville is the only returning player they have right now after Alex Formanton's injury during the scrimmages last week with the U Sports team. So you've got pretty much one returning guy on that roster, and it's gonna be an interesting group. There's a lot of talent there. A guy who hasn't gotten talked about a lot is Brett Leeson, who plays for Prince Albert out west. The kid was passed over in 2 NHL drafts already, and the kid's numbers this year have been absolutely outstanding in Prince Albert. He's got 28 goals in 31 games. The kid's been an absolute player. He's had a good year. He's basically exceeded his career Western Hockey League's point output, and that's including basically 2 seasons. He's basically exceeded that this year. The kid's been that good. So he's a kid who's maybe a little under the radar just because he's undrafted. He's playing in a smallish market, although he's playing for basically the best team in the country right now in Prince Albert. He's a guy who's going to be a big impact guy for that team as well.
So yeah, no, Brad, you only have about 5-7 minutes left here or so I want to get through these topics. For my final thoughts of the World Juniors team, what are you expecting? What are you expecting from the goalies, the D, the forwards? What are you expecting from the team overall? Is this a gold medal team, or are they going to be uptight against teams like Swedes, who have Rasmus Sandin going over there at Timothy Legierne, I believe, was also sent over there from the Marlies. So, they got a pretty good team over there in Sweden. You have the World Juniors, I think, is going to be pretty tough for Canada, but it seems like they have a good roster nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, they're solid every year. They're going to be there. Tim Hunter's a high-end coach. He's going to have that team ready, and that's a group that their goaltending is going to be solid. Ian Scott's one of the best goalies in the country. Plays on that Prince Albert team that's only lost like 4 games all year. Michael DiPietro's another guy who he's playing for a good Ottawa team now, and he's a guy who's putting up good numbers, and is going to be a big impact guy. On the blue line, you've got Evan Bouchard, who spent time in the NHL. We talked about Dobson. Jared McIsaac, a Red Wing pick's going to be a good fit there. Ty Smith, you talked about him. Another guy's Marcus Phillips, a kid out of Owen Sound. I mean, he's a little bit underrated in that group. You've got some high-end guys, and he's going to be the kind of we talked about Brett Leeson maybe being the underrated guy up front. Marcus Phillips might be that guy in the blue line for the Canadian team. He's a good, solid, steady defenseman. And up front, it's tough not having Gabe Velarde, who hasn't played a game in, what seems like forever due to injury. But, you look, Jared Anderson-Dolan's going to be a good fit. Max Comtois got the experience. You've got, Shane Bowers out of BU. He's going to be a solid, steady, another big body. Mackenzie Entwistle, a big body with hands. Morgan Frost, ton of skill. Cody Glass, ton of skill. Baird Hayton, 200-foot game. Lafreniere, a lot of skill. Leeson's a high-end guy. Jack Studnicka's out of Oshawa's, he's a guy who's kind of a utility guy almost. He can play a lot of different roles. Suzuki's going to give you a lot of offense. Owen Tippett's, another big body who's going to play well. And, Joe Valeno, again, he's a guy who's very skilled, and, he's going to be, a big part of that team as well.
Big fan of Joe Valeno, but I like the Shane Bowers. That's my guy. I don't know if it's because of the name Bowers. I just love that name. Brad, now one more combined topic before I let you go. We talked about this off air. Video review, okay? Now, this comes from a friend of ours who's also a member here on the show, roommate of mine, Dane Hancho. After we watched the Toronto Maple Leafs shellac the New Jersey Devils last night, 7-2, we were watching the Edmonton Oilers game against St. Louis as the Edmonton Oilers fell to the St. Louis Blues. There was a goal scored in Edmonton yesterday that was called a goal, not a goal on the ice, called a goal after review. There was a coach's challenge and it remained a goal. People were upset because of not being able to see the puck where the watchers. You can't see it. You can see the puck underneath the Talbot's pad and probably went over the goal line, but there's not conclusive evidence. You cannot give it a for sure because you can't see the puck. Toronto released a statement today in the media room where they're able to see different angles of the puck.
Okay, and now you believe it, take it as their will. They're going to have more access to cameras than people at home are going to have. Now, you and I talked about how offside they review. Anything can happen. You have an offside thing. You don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes later. You know, if that's going to bring you have to bring the time back, and you have all that things have to happen. It's at the end of the day, the video review, should there be more accessible viewing for the viewers watching? And do you want to see any reviewing changes for the play calls? And lastly, the last topic, are players favorited in terms of penalties? McDavid has been apparently subject for not getting enough calls. Nazem Kadri seems to draw every penalty when he's on the ice for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Or if it is Brad Marchand or someone who's drawing some penalties. You know, in terms of that, Brad, the video review, players maybe getting favorited. Do you see that in the National Hockey League as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens. I mean, it's... You know, I mean, I always say this, referees are human, right? I mean, they say they say they don't favorite players, they say they don't, and I mean, I'm sure they don't intentionally, although I wouldn't be shocked if it does happen where, you know, it's a little easier to make a call on a guy if he's well-liked, you know, as opposed to if you're Brad Marchand, where you're maybe a little more disliked by a lot of people. It's going to be harder for Brad Marchand to get a call than a lot of other guys. I mean, I don't know that it happens intentionally, but I'm sure it happens. As far as video review, I mean, I have issues with it in the sense that, I mean, you know, we look at video review, and it's just, I get what you're saying about the idea of fans maybe having access to different angles. I mean, for that, you know what? I trust the league enough to know that if they tell me they have a different angle on that Edmonton-St. Louis goal that shows it over the line, hey, you know what? That's good enough for me. If they say they've got the review, because I'm sure they've got access to it. You know, basically the only view that I saw was basically it was an overhead camera, you know, that you could see part of the puck, but you couldn't see the whole puck. Okay, well, you know what? I get it. That it's tough for us to say, okay, that's, you know, by the rule book, that shouldn't be a goal because you can't conclusively say it's over the line. The thing is, if the NHL says they've got a different view of it, hey, you know what? I have a hard time arguing that. You know, as far as the offside rule, I get what they're trying to do with that. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it just because I feel like it takes... I feel like we're over-reviewing stuff in a lot of sports. I mean, I feel the same way about baseball, too, that I feel like we review way too much there. You know, I feel like, you know, I would rather them not review offsides. I would honestly rather them not review goalie interference. You know, because I find that, you know, we get that argument so often in games. That's goalie interference, that's not. And, you know, we get to the point where... You know, we're looking at it, and you know, you almost feel like people don't have a good understanding of what is and isn't goalie interference because it's, you know, it's a little subjective sometimes too. So I almost think, you know what, we'd almost be better off not reviewing goalie interference. Just keep it to the simple stuff, puck going over the line and, like, you know, high puck getting knocked in with a high stick or batted in with a hand. Keep it to that stuff and leave the human element for everything else.
Like that. Good taste, good touch. I will say that goal yesterday, you could tell the puck went over the line visually, but you can't see it. So like you said, you got to trust that Toronto's not lying. And if you're an Oilers fan, I'm sure you're cursing Toronto, saying that Toronto's out to get me. The Oilers this year have had 19 straight goal reviews that went against them. Yeah. And I know everyone's going to look at that from a stat perspective, like, no, that's not true. You know, that's not true. But at the end of the day, you got to trust the league, and you got to think that they're going to make the right call either way. So, Brad, without further ado, I know you got to get going. A little bit of a hockey teaser on a Wednesday show, which is an absolute first since 2015-16, I want to say. You know, and as Jamie Antonello just rolls in, here we're going to get ready to talk about In the Pocket. Brad, I want to say thanks for coming on by to talk about some of the hot topics in hockey locally and professionally, and adding this extra little teaser to our Wednesday show and a little sneak peek. You can hear Brad Coccimiglio on the Game Sports Show on Thursdays from Northern Spirit Brewing Company through the phone mostly now, but also live on location when possible, and also through our Icebreaker show, which is on Sundays, and that is with the Game Sports Show Thursday and Sunday. And now you can also catch Brad on SooToday.com and also writing articles for Sportsnet as well. Brad, thanks for coming on by here at Sportscenter Bar and Grill.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and now I'll let the Wednesday pros do their thing.
The Wednesday pro, I'll say. I don't see the other pro that's coming in yet. It's just the one pro sitting across from me right now, Jamie Antonello. He's wearing the wrong hockey hat, though, if I'm with that Chicago Blackhawks, even though they had a big win against Nashville last night. He's wearing the correct sweater, though. It's Cora Colts, OSSA champion. And OSSA champions if you want to go junior route. Now, listeners, we're going to take a quick break. Dave McCaig here. I'm letting Brad go. When we come back, Jamie Antonello for sure. I don't know if anyone else has come through that door, but we're going to get into the Week 15 of the National Football League and going into Week 16 as well before we talk about some Raptors, before we conclude tonight's show here at Sportscenter Bar and Grill. Don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sportscenter Bar and Grill. Sportscenter Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sportscenter rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sportscenter, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sportscenter Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McCaig. You're listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or on the Scott Nason YouTube channel. You may have also been directed here through Facebook and or Instagram. Either way, thanks for making us a part of your night tonight. As I said, we're at Sportscenter Bar and Grill for our Wednesday edition of the Game Sports Show for this 75-cent wing nights here at SportsCenter as well, and it's an action-packed atmosphere as always here. Book your Christmas party, as Christmas is just 6 days away. If you want to get a group together, don't hesitate to reach out to SportsCenter Bar and Grill staff or Frank Ligori to book your reservation today. We say bye to Brad Coccimiglio, where we talked about hockey, which is a rarity here on the Wednesday show. Now we're going to get into the In the Pocket segment here for what it's famously known for our Wednesday show, and I got Jamie Antonello here to my left, who's subbing in for Brad Coccimiglio here, and who is the main guy for our Wednesday show. One of the main guys. We did not see Matt Primo come through the door, so I'm expecting it's just myself and Jamie for the remainder of the evening. And Jamie and I are going to talk about the past week in the NFL with Week 15, and then also with Week 16 coming up, and also we're going to talk about our Pick'em League. The Blake Winter Pick'em Trophy seems like it might be decided just because of last week with yours truly making some risks, but did not pay off, that is for sure. Jamie, hello my friend. Ready for another show?
Yeah, man. As always. Yeah, I'd like to talk about the Pick'em Trophy. I mean, you just had a couple bad weeks. You're just hot and cold in that right now. I mean, it's kind of only been like a 2-horse race the last few weeks because we've been solo the last few shows, but no, I mean, crazy week as usual. The Chargers are going to potentially have the second best record in the NFL and be a 5 seed going in the playoffs, which is be absurd. Cleveland, man, they're hot. Indy's hot. I'm excited to talk about it.
The National Football League 2018 season / 2019 season, full of surprises. The surprising year, I'd like to call it. Now, going into this past week, talk about last week, with Week 15. A lot of games were decided, I'd like to say, by surprise. Again, I want to talk about the Chargers and Chiefs, sort of. I know a lot of people say, the Chargers are a good football team. Yes, they are. But I thought the Chiefs were a better football team, to be honest. When you want to look at the Maybe the Detroit Lions losing to the Buffalo Bills, if you want to go to that extreme with that. Maybe if you want to look at the Colts beating the Cowboys. Cowboys were one of the hottest teams in the NFL going into last week, if you want to talk about that. The Saints only scoring 12 points. Carolina only getting 9 in an absolute non-shootout, if you want to go that route. Or if the Pittsburgh Steelers defeating the New England Patriots. People doubted Pittsburgh. I know I didn't. And I'm happy I didn't, especially with my pick'em record. But at the end of the day, it was a pivotal week for a lot of teams. And a lot of teams were able to get some breathing room or gain respect or play spoiler, whatever it may have been. And we know the Chargers have the second best record in the NFL, as you were just saying, right? The second best record, so potentially. So beating the Chiefs is a big win for that Los Angeles Chargers team, a team that went under the radar all year, in my opinion, because no one gave them the love that they deserved, I felt, especially the media, or maybe they did, we just didn't hear a lot of it. I know here on the Game Sports Show we gave them a lot of credit. So diving into last week, Jamie, I want you to talk about a couple games that really pique your interest. There's a couple games that we could dive into. Like the Chargers 29-28 over the Chiefs. You got Steelers defeating the New England Patriots 17-10. 49ers defeating the Seahawks 26-23. You have the Bears 24-17 over the Packers. The Ravens pulling out a win over the Bucks. The Bengals pulling out a win over the Raiders. Bengals are playing their I don't know who quarterback. A lot of games last week we can talk about. Sliding over to you, my friend.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with Thursday nighter, Kansas City and LA. And Kansas City was more or less in control, but you could kind of tell it was one of those games where it wasn't. There's been games where teams are up even just 7 points, and you feel like they have a very firm grip on the game. They're not really worried about big plays or anything happening. But the Chargers are one of those teams that, despite not having Melvin Gordon for the third week in a row, Phillip Rivers just picked it up, dominated. I think Kansas City's defense let them down a little bit. And their offense just couldn't get critical first downs in the fourth quarter when they needed it. If they get one first down instead of a 3-and-out, that changes things. That eliminates at least 2 minutes off the clock, changes things completely. And how about the Chargers, like the stones on them to go for 2? But first of all, Kansas City's defense, they just didn't cover Mike Williams. He was uncovered. He ran like a simple corner route. Nobody with them, complete busting coverage. They both went with this other receiver on a slant or some kind of crossing route towards the middle. Unexcusable. They didn't run a pick play. It was literally the easiest thing to cover. He may have still made the play even if the guy was with him. He's a big receiver. Phil throws it in a good spot. But that was surprising for me. And the only good thing for Kansas City is they have the best division record in their division right now. So that gives them the tiebreaker. But if Kansas City loses another game and the Chargers win out, they're the number 1 seed. As crazy as it sounds, they'll be 13-3, number 1 seed, potentially the best record in the NFL, at the very least the best record in the AFC. Because right now they're tied for second. The Chiefs, Rams, and Chargers are all tied at 11-3, and the Saints are at 12-2. But this Chargers team is legit. Anthony Lynn has these guys playing hard for each other. They got quality quarterback play. Their D-line's hot. They can run the ball when they need to, and they can pass when they need to. This is a dangerous team. They're a 5 seed. They're for sure going to beat whoever's the 4 seed. Yeah. I'm not even – there's no way I'm picking against the Chargers in the first round of the playoffs. I'm excited to see what they can do moving forward. I'm not sure who the Chargers play the next couple weeks. I think they play Baltimore coming up, which would be a tough game. That's a really quality defense versus a really quality offense. And then they got the Broncos to finish. So interesting matchups. You got elite pass rushers coming after you in both of those games. So I'm curious to see what they can do, and including a division game against Denver. So interesting. I'm excited. I think Chargers are going to go 13-3. It's whether or not the Kansas City Chiefs do too.
How did the Philadelphia Eagles transition to another team? Defeat the Los Angeles Rams. What are those Eagles making some noise here? They want to try to come back after a disappointing so far season in 2018-2019. They're trying to salvage it and try to get into the playoffs and try to clinch it in. They're 500 right now. Nick Foles played. Guy who won them the Super Bowl last year. Jared Goff, 339 yards, 1 INT. Not even a touchdown. Gurley, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns, though obviously finds a way on the score sheet. Then you got Ashawn Jeffrey getting 160 yards. Yeah. No, obviously running the ball big. Shutting down Zach Ertz, though, which is big. How did the Eagles pull away with this win against LA?
I think it was just a combination of quality defense early. I mean, Todd Gurley scored the first drive, but other than that, their offense was able to score enough points. I really think that there's a comfort level factor with Doug Peterson and Nick Foles a little bit. I think he transitioned the offense and the play calling and a little bit of what he does last year in the playoffs for Nick Foles. Because you saw it, Nick Foles came in for Carson Wentz after his devastating knee injury. And the last couple games of the regular season last year were a struggle. And then they went on that magical playoff run. Nick Foles was playing out of his mind, Super Bowl MVP. And then you come back this year, first game of the year, Nick plays pretty well. Not superb, but it's the first game of the year. You never know what's going to happen. Carson comes in week 3, I think, this year. And it never really clicked the whole season. There was never one breakout game where I was like, the Eagles offense looks like the Eagles offense last year when Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate. And then he gets hurt again, and he's probably shut down now. I think you got to roll with Nick. And it just looked more comfortable. Like, the offense was explosive. I think the Rams had a couple busts, but that's a good Rams defense. Like, there's a lot of money invested in that team. Akeem Talib's back, so there's no excuse for that anymore. Their linebackers are flying sideline to sideline. That's the best D-line in football. And that's a quality win for Philly. LA's on a little bit of the schneid right now. I think a couple of big losses. I'm a little bit concerned for them, especially because that was a home game. If they have to, and right now New Orleans has a game cushion on them for the NFC home field advantage in the NFC playoffs. And man, New Orleans, I know I'm biased, but New Orleans at home in the Dome are wild. And I think, like, for a team like LA, that benefits them as well. But if for whatever reason LA has to go somewhere cold, like if they were to drop down to the 3 seed, but by something happening and the Bears jump them and they become the 2 seed, I'm worried about LA having to go back into Chicago. We already saw how that happened once. They couldn't do anything. 15-6 loss. Their offense was terrible in the cold. They struggled. That Bears defense is hot. I'm worried for LA if that happens.
They have a good player back there, too, the Bears, on defense.
He's all right.
He's a pretty decent guy.
Okay.
He's all right, that Mac guy. They call him the Mac truck. He's absolutely insane. Now, the game I want to obviously jump into last week, there's a couple I want to talk about. The one is the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, that was a game where people had Pittsburgh done. They're like, all right, the Browns are going to sneak in. There's going to be a miracle and blah, blah, blah. You know, the Steelers getting a win. Ravens getting the win. The Browns getting the win. And the Bengals getting the win. The Steelers needed to get that W to hold that division lead, and they did, 17-10 over the New England Patriots. You know, they, after the second half, you know, Jamie, you and I were talking about it before we went on air. They're up 14-7. It was a little bit quiet in that second half. But Jalen Samuels, 142 yards with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, that's a good quality game and a tight pressure game for Pittsburgh. Obviously, Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. Brown had a touchdown, but he had under 50 yards. You know, they're shutting down the receivers. Ben is throwing a couple INTs because he's just throwing the ball to them. He's not able to give them the ball. But New England's 9-5. They're human, this team. They could be out by a wild card team. I'm sorry. I think anything can happen when you get in that postseason, especially how stacked that postseason is going to look like if people fall in different places. And look at Pittsburgh, if they go into a wild card, if the Ravens pass them, or if it's all in all, if Indy gets in, or whatever happens, the playoffs are going to look pretty interesting. And with this game that I liked the most was Pittsburgh utilized that running game with Jalen Samuels pretty well. And at the end of the day, James Washington, trusting him with the football too. You know, when they couldn't give the ball to Brown or Juju Smith-Schuster, they're either giving it to Samuels or they're giving it to Washington. You know, Vance McDonald had another short week this week. That's a guy that, you know, like a big touchdown. Either way, you get that touchdown, it's big. But yardage, they didn't use him a lot going down the field, but they used him where it was proper to use Vance, in the red zone or in that potential 20-yard to touchdown area. So Big Ben coming through, apparently had some questionable with injuries, but obviously if he was injured, he played through it. And they're going to have a bigger challenging week this week against the league's best New Orleans Saints. Now, the other game that I want to jump in, before I go into that, I guess I'll give you some reaction here, Jamie, on the Steelers and Patriots.
was going to say, you keep doing that, man. You keep blowing by big games that I want to talk about. Yeah, I mean, and I just talked about the Chargers. The Chargers are the 5 seed. It's looking like New England could potentially be the 4 seed, which would be unbelievable.
Love it, though.
I can't believe it if that were to happen. But, man, I got to like the Chargers in that matchup, to be honest, even going into Foxborough. There's a recipe that has stood for a while when you're playing elite quarterbacks like Tom Brady. If you can get up early, if you can get pressure on them, get them off his spot, make them one-dimensional, and if you're up at halftime and you can maintain that lead, that really takes Bill Belichick out of it. He's the master of halftime adjustments. If it's a close game, even, or they're up a little bit, even by a field goal, something like that, you know something's going to happen. If you can weather the storm those first couple drives of the third quarter, which Pittsburgh did, and it's at home, that helps. The crowd at Heinz Field, 100%, but they got it done. They had a great running game. And yes, New England took away AB. That's what they do. They're going to take away your weapons. They took away him and Smith-Schuster, more or less. Vance McDonald got a look on the goal line. That was really all he did. But then, like you said, Samuels ran the ball well. They were able to get some other guys involved in the passing game. I think like 11 guys had receptions or something crazy. And some of them for big key first downs that keep the clock rolling. And they were able to kick the field goal in the fourth quarter that really kind of, I'm not going to say iced the game, but made it to a 7-point game, gave them that extra cushion knowing even if New England scores, we're still at least forcing overtime. It changes the way you play. When it's a 4-point lead versus a 7-point lead, it's realistically you got to score a touchdown if you're New England, but it changes your mentality a little bit there. But I can't remember the last time New England had 5 losses. I think it was the year that they went 11-5 and Miami beat them for the division. I think that's the last time. And that was also the year that Tom Brady tore his ACL. So we're talking 2007, something like that. So it's been a while. I think New England's not in danger of losing their division whatsoever. No chance that Miami catches up to them. It's not going to happen. But still, I mean, they've shown they're vulnerable. I don't think this may be the first year in a long time they don't make the AFC Championship. I'd be surprised, but if they beat LA on that first weekend, then you're talking about playing Kansas City, who they've already beaten this year, but it is hard to beat a team twice. That's one of the toughest things in sports, and to be in Kansas City again, or you're potentially talking about Houston, somebody like that, right? Like, it's tough, man. You never know what's going to happen. I'm excited. This is the closest that I think I've seen any playoff picture in both divisions. Because really, the AFC is actually tighter because the Chargers basically have that 5th seed locked. Nobody can touch that. So there's really only one wildcard spot up for grabs in the AFC, and it's going to probably be either Pittsburgh/Baltimore or Indy at this point. I mean, if Pittsburgh were to lose last week, I would have said Cleveland's got a shot there too. And but it's going to be tough, man. Tennessee's also in that mix. They got a good running game going right now. It's going to come down to Week 17. I'm excited. I love football. This is what it's all about, man.
Great season so far in the National Football League. Tice, last game I want to jump into before we go into talking about our predictions and going into Week 16 in the National Football League, which I can't believe it's already Week 16. Dave McCaig alongside Jamie Antonello live at Sportscenter Bar and Grill, the Twin Cities only local, regional, and national sports show. Listen to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com. The Browns and Broncos, 17-6. Yours truly picked the Broncos. Jamie picked the Browns. I picked the Browns to only have 5 wins this year. They're now at 6, which is why I picked against them last week, so I looked like an expert. Should have went with my gut. Nick Chubb, 100 yards. No touchdowns, though. However, still had an effective game for the Broncos in the Mile High City. You have Denver 6-8, Cleveland 6-7. They still actually have a chance to make the playoffs if Miami wins 1 of 2. Indy and Tennessee loses, the Baltimore loses both, and Cincinnati loses both, and Cleveland wins both. Then they have a chance to make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, Cleveland is showing some great improvements this year, and even if they make the playoffs or not, James, you got to be happy if you're a Browns fan right now. I know you want to get to the playoffs. I know you want to see that, or you'd rather not make it by a long shot because you get a higher draft pick. But at the end of the day, this is progression. This is improvement. And I want to talk about this game, how the Browns played a tight football game, good defensive game. Baker Mayfield's looking like a stud. I'm a big fan of Chubb. the Browns are looking like a team that's improving and going to be dangerous in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. I think Baker's their guy. He's proven that. You're always worried going into the second season. For a rookie quarterback, when he goes into his sophomore season, you're really just looking for consistency at that point. You don't need that massive, huge leap, because that doesn't always happen. People think of Peyton Manning because he had a terrible rookie season, set the interception record, threw like 28 picks his rookie year, and then the next season he threw like 35 touchdowns and 10 picks. That doesn't happen. Peyton Manning's a very unique guy. We're talking about like a top 5 quarterback of all time. So for Baker, I think he's gritty. I think Cleveland loves him. I'm really curious to see what they do coaching staff-wise. I mean, because Greg Williams has been righting the ship, and that defense is playing awesome under him. They can't get rid of him. He at least has to remain on as the DC. But things change when you hire a head coach. He may want to bring in his guys. That being said, if Greg Williams gets hired, I think he'll maintain that. But Greg Williams has had some failed experiences being a head coach in the NFL. Things haven't gone well. I think he's learned from that, and I think you're always learning as a coach, so I'm pretty hopeful there. But the big thing for Cleveland in this game is they kept Denver to like 30 yards rushing. And the fact that they did that in Mile High is super impressive. Yep. You're playing in the elevation. You never know what's going to happen. Despite the fact, and I mean, the Broncos had a chance at the end of this game, missed a field goal to lose, but those are the gritty wins that you need. Cleveland effectively leaps them in the playoff standings now. Makes it almost impossible for Denver to get in. Cleveland still has a long road, don't get me wrong, but like you said, Nick Chubb ran the ball well. You play good defense, you run the ball, don't turn the ball over. It's a pretty good recipe for a win. Even if it's a 1-point win by nothing, basically. We're talking 1 foot. He missed the upright on the field goal. But still, man, win's a win. The land. Baker's got 6 dubs, or 4 wins, I think, he's got on his own. That's one more than Hugh Jackson had in his 3 seasons. So, hey, man, let's go.
Shots fired at Hugh Jackson. Jamie, you and I were talking in the pocket here on the Game Sports Show. Now, here's what I'm thinking. We keep sipping on some of these products. We majat on some of the za. We take a quick break. When we come back, we predict Week 16 in the National Football League, and then we're going to talk Raptors. It seems like we won't have time for a round table, especially with the 2 of us here. Usually we do a round table. We have 3 or 4 or 5 some nights of us here. But we will not have a round table there tonight. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of college football, though Jamie will jump into for sure, as I just got verification that Intercontinental Inch will not be here tonight either due to a Christmas party again. So leaving a little disappointed, but I hope the listeners liked when Brad came by for a little hockey chat, and I hope you like In the Pocket thus far, because we still got more coming here on the Game Sports Show.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sportscenter Bar and Grill. Sportscenter Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sportscenter rated top sports bar for the 2nd year in a row. At Sportscenter, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sportscenter Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsioux.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful, new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McCaig. You're listening to the Twin Sault's only local regional national sports show, the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com. I'm alongside Jamie Antonello, continuing our In the Pocket segment, going into Week 16 with our predictions. Now, Jamie, like I said, the season's been full of surprises. We're in our Pick'em League. Last week was a disappointing week for the Blake Winter Pick'em Trophy for Dave McCaig, who was in first place a couple weeks ago. Is no longer in first place. Was in second the last couple weeks now. Went 6-10 did Dave McCaig. Yours truly last week, as Jamie went 10-6. Jamie has now pulled away with a 144-80 to my 137-87 record in the Pick'em League. Now that means I'm down by 7, which means the next 2 weeks I have to gain some enormous ground on Jamie Antonello. So at the end of the day, Jamie, seems like people are going to count me out, but I'm coming. There's still 2 weeks left here, my friend. Anything can happen. I might have a couple good weeks here in the National Football League, but at the end of the day, the Pick'em League is still not done. But we're going to get into our predictions for Week 16 in the National Football League, and a lot of games this week that are going to determine a lot of the playoff picture, in my opinion. I really think this week will be the deciding week, Jamie, for sure. I think for a lot of teams at Week 16, you got 2 weeks left. It's pretty obvious this could be the deciding week for teams. And you and I, you know the drill. We're going to go back and forth here. I'm going to go first on picking the games because I got really nothing to lose in the games. I'm going to name the game. I'm going to answer it, pass it to you, back to me, so on and so forth as we list the games here for our Blake Winter Pick'em League, and also to continue our In the Pocket segment here with the National Football League. I would like to say, though, kind of unfortunate that we're still not talking about local football. I really miss that. Talking about this, about the Cats, about the Steelers, talking about Core Colts and about high school football, but I guess you need a break. I just want to throw that random out there. TPW, I love that hashtag. Core Colts football team had to go dancing on stage today, according to the Core Football Instagram. Like seeing that. So give them a follow at Core Football on Instagram, and for sure get some enjoyment there from Tom and its uploads. Week 16. National Football League. First game we're going to predict here on a Saturday. Redskins Titans. I'm going to go out on a limb. I feel like this is not really a limb, but I need to kind of be a little safe yet risky with my picks because I am still doing a sports show, so I can't have ludicrous picks. I want to pick the right teams that can advise our listeners when they're choosing their pro line this week. Titans, though, Jamie. I'm just going to go with the Titans. I think that's the obvious decision. I believe they're favorites in this game to win as well. I think the Titans are a hit-and-miss team, but I feel like they're dominating against Washington this week. Jamie?
Yeah, there's, like I said, I think Tennessee's in that hunt. They're a potential playoff team at this point, fighting for that 6th seed in the AFC race. They've established a running game. They've proved almost unstoppable. Marcus Mariota is playing more or less mistake-free football. Their defense is heating up. I think Mike Vrabel has these guys playing at the right time leading into playoffs. There's no way I'm picking against Tennessee the rest of the year until playoffs. But they're gonna beat Washington at home. I don't even think this is a close one. I think Derrick Henry has another monster game, and Washington can't do anything about it.
Ravens Chargers is the next on our docket here on the Game Sports Show. I think it's an obvious pick, in my opinion, but I gotta say it anyway still. The Chargers.
This is an interesting one for me. I think it's going to be extremely close, but I got to go with the Chargers. I think Baltimore is the best defense in football right now, maybe outside of Chicago, but they're playing at a really high level. But LA's just got that team of destiny thing, and I think Melvin Gordon coming back is going to give them balance this week. Austin Eckler's potentially back too, so they get their top 2 running backs returned, plus the way Phillip Rivers is playing. Hopefully Keenan Allen's healthy. If he is, that's big. Otherwise, man, by the way Mike Williams is playing, doesn't even matter, and Antonio Gates still has some in the tank. I got to go with LA. I think it's a close game, though, but going with the Chargers.
Concise sweep there, for sure. Buccaneers, Cowboys. I'm going to say the Cowboys. Like, again, I think the Cowboys have bounced back a little upset after last week. The Buccaneers, a little bit depleted. Obvious pick here, Cowboys.
Yeah, this is a curious one again. I don't think it's a runaway game, but I think with Dallas being at home, I think they're going to right the ship. Going to go with the Cowboys as well. Tampa Bay, for whatever reason, is playing some quality football right now. I mean, they had a massive losing streak there for a while. They've struggled. They played against a really tough Baltimore defense. I don't think it's going to get any easier against Dallas, and Dallas is coming out for vengeance after that beatdown they took from Indy last week. Cowboys.
Next game, Vikings-Lions. To be honest, this was a game that I kind of want to pick the Lions about, but based on Stafford being well protected with the Lions, I feel this week, I think they'd be a little too cautious with him. I'm going to go the Vikings here. I feel like the Vikings are going to win. Apologize to the Lions listeners and Lions faithful, but I think you guys know that there will be no playoff football in Detroit this year. And Minnesota is still in the thick of a battle. They're going to play hungry. I got to go Minnesota.
I'm going to go against the grain here, Dave. Despite the fact that I think Minnesota's got to push for playoffs, I don't think they're going to make it regardless of what happens. I'm going to go with the Lions here. I think it's at home. I think for whatever, I think they're tired of losing division games. They got a couple big division wins early in the year. I think Kirk Cousins is going to struggle. They played against Miami last week, and Miami just threw up a softie against them early. They were able to blow open the game. Matt Patricia is going to take Kirk Cousins out of the game. He's going to force Dalvin Cook to beat them, and he's very good. Don't get me wrong, but they're going to do what they need to do. I think Stafford has a good game. I think this is another fourth quarter comeback for the Lions. I think it's a close one, but I think they're going to pull it out. A little bit of a upset pick, you could say, but division games, you never know what's going to happen. Lions.
Bold prediction there. Falcons, Panthers. I'm going to say with Newton getting shut down, pretty obviously I want to go with the Falcons with Matt Ryan. Matty Ice is going to have a hell of a game. Panthers a little bit depleted again, a team that's probably, wishing they had a better outcome to their season. I think the Falcons are trying to salvage and try to end on a high note. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons in Carolina.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, if Cam was playing, despite the fact that he's been beat up, I would have gone with Carolina. I think I got to go with Atlanta on the road, though. The way Matt Ryan's playing, I think you take away Cam Newton, and it really puts all the pressure on Christian McCaffrey. And we saw he still had a very explosive game against a legit New Orleans defense, who's one of the hottest right now. But I just think Atlanta's firepower is too much. Carolina's defense is playing pretty good, but they are vulnerable at times. New Orleans left probably at least 10 points off the board last week in a really tight game. I'm going to go with Atlanta as well.
Clean sweep on the Falcons. Texans, Eagles. People are going to be probably surprised the way I'm going to go with this. It's going to be my gamble pick. I think I'm going to go with Philadelphia Eagles on this one against Houston. I've picked Houston almost every week this year, and they haven't really upsetted me, but Philadelphia's hot right now. Nick Foles is back in the fold there. I feel like they're getting really gelled there. I got to go with them being at home. Philadelphia.
Yeah, they're actually favorites at home, 2.5 points, so it's a tight line. I'm going to go with Houston, though. I'm going to go opposite with you. I think Philly's going to – I think they're riding really high, and I think they're playing well, and with Nick Foles under center, those guys believe in that locker room around him. But I think this is a big road victory. I think Houston has seen that New England's vulnerable. They have a chance to climb in the playoff, get a higher playoff seeding now. They were already ahead of New England by virtue of head-to-head by strength of schedule. But I think they're going to They're going to climb the rankings here a little bit. They're right now they're sitting in a bye, and I don't think they want to lose that. I think they value that bye big time. They got to get a win here and come out of Philly, and that's a big quality win for a Houston team that's looking to make a run.
Oh, yeah, they are. Giants, Colts going over that way. Colts are hot. I did have faith in the Giants last couple weeks, but not going that road anymore. Indianapolis is hot. Andrew Luck is back to old form. Loving it. Love seeing it. Going Indy.
Yeah, I'm going Indy as well. They're rolling. Hard to go against them right now. I think the Indianapolis defense is underrated. They got some quality guys on that back end. They're playing really well. I think they're going to shut Saquon down as much as possible. I think they're going to hold them to under 100 scrimmage yards, and that's going to be the difference. I'm going Indy.
Bengals, Browns. I think we're going to have the same intention on this because we're loving it, but I'm going to go with Cleveland getting the win at home, getting the 7 wins this year, making it a bit more tighter in that division, even more than it has to be. You cannot love this Cleveland team. Fantastic. Going Cleveland.
Yeah, since he had a bit of a soft matchup against Oakland's struggling defense last week, I think Cleveland's defense is much stouter. They're going to shut down the run of Joe Mixon. I still don't even know who's playing quarterback for Cincinnati. Who cares at this point? I think Cleveland's going to come away with an easy one, relatively. I think Nick Chubb continues. I think Baker has another quality win. He may not necessarily have a huge stat line game, but I think he makes the plays when he needs to, limits his turnovers, and he's going to make those 5 or 6 flash plays that Baker's been known for, and that makes him really exciting to watch. I'm going with Cleveland at home.
The land must love the predictions on getting wins. Patriots, Bills. I don't think we have to even get into this as an analytics point, but I'm going to go with New England. That's all.
Yeah, frig. I mean, Buffalo had a quality one. Quality win last week, but New England is... I said it last week. I said I didn't think New England was going to get the 5 losses. They did. I don't think they're going to get the 6 losses. They're going to get the win. Bills are going down. It's in New England, despite it being a division game. Sorry, Buffalo, you're done.
2 straight losses going to this game, too, Patriots. Must be a little bit pissed off over there in New England. I think we're going to go different on this next game, though, between Green Bay and New York Jets. Give me my gamble of the week. I'm going to go with the Jets over the Packers this week. Home field advantage. The Packers, I'm liking the running game with the Jets right now. You just picked up the running back in your pool. With Anderson, receiver, but Anderson, thank you very much for receiving the ball. The offense, I think, is going to pick up. I think they're going to end strong, the Jets. Some optimism going into the draft and into next year. And also, it's because my gut feeling. Jets.
Yeah, we are going to go opposite here. I'm going to go with the Packers on the road. Yeah, I just think Aaron Rodgers brings something special. I think they got the running game going finally now a little bit. I think the Jets are vulnerable. Sam Darnold has developed some rapport now finally with his receiving core and those offensive weapons. But I still don't think that they can compete. If you were to go quarterback head-to-head, obviously you take Aaron Rodgers every single time. But I think Green Bay's DBs are going to be the difference. I think they're going to force a couple turnovers. I think Sam Darnold's going to make a few mistakes, and that's going to really prove the difference in this game. Green Bay.
Love the splits here. Miami, Jacksonville. I'm going to go with a team that has been inconsistent all year. I was going to go with Jacksonville, but they've let me down every week I've picked them. Going Miami. It's obvious Jacksonville's defeated. Miami still has running on a high. Maybe they still believe. I don't know. They got the belief to try to get in there. So, going Miami.
I'm going to go with Jacksonville here. I think they're going to play a little bit of spoiler. They're going to end Miami's glimmer of hope at a playoff spot. And I think Jalen Ramsey is going to have a big game. Tannehill is going to make some mistakes. I think Jacksonville's going to get Leonard Fournette going early. And their defense is going to be able to tee off, make Miami one-dimensional. Kenyon Drake's still probably going to have a big game, and he's going to be the difference. But if Jacksonville can take Frank Gore out of the game and force Tannehill to beat you, you'll put yourself in a good spot. I'm going to go Jacksonville in a close one on the road.
Tannehill, definitely not a big name when it comes to... I'm just kidding. Well, I still got love for Tannehill, but he's not... Never mind. We'll move forward. San Francisco, the 49ers against the Chicago Bears. Sorry, San Fran, you're in for a treat to watch the Bears this week come into town. So you know where I'm going, the Bears.
Yeah, going with Chicago here. I mean, their defense is too good despite being on the road. These are the games that you have to win. You're in warm weather. I think Matt Nagy's offense is going to be on full display. I don't even think this one's close. Despite San Fran playing a Seattle team very close last week, very different atmosphere, division game. Seattle team that's nowhere near as deep at all three levels as Chicago is. And going with the Bears. I think this is a double-digit win.
Damn. Speaking of double-digit wins, I know this game's going to be Rams-Cardinals. I'm just going to go with the Rams because they're a little bit pissed off. Gurley's going to run a clinic on that football field. I think he's hitting 200 yards this week. Goff's hitting 350 yards. Big game for the Rams. I think they're going to win by 3 touchdowns over the Cardinals. Bold prediction. Sorry, Arizona. I have no faith in you going into this game. Need some revamps there in Arizona. Los Angeles Rams on the road.
Yeah, I think this is going to be 2 straight weeks for the Cardinals giving up 40-plus points. Unfortunately for them, at home again, this is the widest stat line of the week. The LA Rams are favored by 14 points, which is impressively huge. Hammer the over. It's only at 44.5 right now, so yikes. But I'm going to go with LA. I think Atlanta carved up Arizona's defense on this. Going to be any differently. The only difference is LA's defense is better than Atlanta's, so I think the margin might even be larger than the 26 points that it was last week. Going with the Rams. Enough said.
Steelers Saints. Finally, we get to pick a game against each other. I know where I'm going. I have my faith in my black and yellow Pittsburgh Steelers getting the win. Clinch. That'll be a clinch, I think, if they win. That would be a clinch for the Steelers. A little motivation. They're playing in the Dome, though. Yikes. Gonna be a good football game. I think the Steelers are going to go into this. Ben Roethlisberger's have to take that experience and try to out-experience Drew Brees. Feel bad for you, Ben. That's a big challenge. But you know what? I still like Pittsburgh's receiving core over New Orleans still. Sorry, Jamie. I still do. And you got Brown and Juju. I definitely do not like the defense comparison, to be totally honest with you. But at the end of the day, Pittsburgh's a little bit more hungry than New Orleans. I like that hunger. And because I like to be biased, Pittsburgh is going to win this football game.
It's funny you talk about hunger and wanting to clinch, but if New Orleans wins this game, they're going to clinch the number 1 seed, and then they'll have a bye. There was no way that either of us were not going to pick our own teams here. I think New Orleans is going to get the win. Dave obviously thinks Pittsburgh is. I still think it's going to be a good game, perfect conditions. There's no worry about that. So I'm going to go with New Orleans. We'll see how it goes. 4:25, big time slot. This is the game to watch for that late afternoon game before you hit the Sunday nighter. Going with the Saints.
Yeah, we kind of have some different games this week, Jamie, and I'm loving it. It's Chiefs, Seahawks. Going with Kansas City. Stats are proving it, why I'm picking them. I think that with Kansas City losing last week, they're a little bit more pissed off. They're like, I'm going Kansas City. That's all.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, Sunday night game. I think this is quality football. You got to watch this. I got to go with Kansas City, despite the fact I really want to go with Seattle because it's in Seattle. I think Kansas City is going to travel decently despite the road trip. And I think ultimately they're just going to be angry after that loss because they need this to maintain their 1 seed. If they lose this, then if LA gets a win, they're going to leapfrog them in the standings and drop down to the 5 seed. I think they had their wake-up call last week, and I think they're going to battle through. I'm going with the Chiefs. In a close one, this is must-see TV, Sunday Night Football. If you're not watching it, what are you doing?
Couldn't agree more, Jamie. What the heck would you also be doing on Sunday night? A couple days before Christmas, though. Broncos, Raiders. I got to do it. I gotta do it. I gotta go. I gotta take gambles here. Anyone who wants to take a pick gamble, this is the game. I'm picking Oakland. I'm gonna pick Oakland against Denver, mainly because I'm gonna get my stats back up in the Pick'em League after sweeping a perfect week here to get back into first place. Never mind, catch up. Also, jokes aside, It's got a feeling about those Raiders going into this week. The Broncos last week lost a tight one to the Browns. I really feel like the home field advantage is going to stick out here. I like Oakland's chances at home. I think John Gruden's going to really coach well in a very tight football game. I think this is a low-scoring football game. Oakland. Jamie.
Yeah, I picked Oakland last week on a whim. Didn't go so well for me. No way I'm doing it again. I'm going with Denver. I think they're going to be looking for some redemption on the road after losing a close one to Cleveland where they realistically had that one and missed a field goal. Oakland's defense is just bad. And I think Philip Lindsay, after being voted to the Pro Bowl, I think he's going to have a little fire under his ass after only gaining 25 yards last week. And I think he's going to have something to prove against a really porous Oakland run defense. I'll say that. So I think Denver's going to come away with this one. Nice quality win. Case Keenum's going to play Case Keenum football. No turnovers. Control the clock. Make the plays when he needs to. Rely on the running game. And I think Von Miller's going to have a couple key sacks on Derek Carr. He loves sacking Oakland. I think he loves going against those O-linemen because he has had tons of success in the past. Denver.
Boo frickety hoo. Number 2. Sorry, Austin Powers. Yeah, baby. Anyways, okay. But I think you're a little crazy, bud. Just kidding. I'm crazy. Obviously, that's a little bit crazy. That's going to do it for Week 16 predictions on the Game Sports Show. Who's more right, do you think, going into the games, Jamie or I? Don't look at the record, because I wasn't first for a little bit. And let me tell you, Jamie and I are going down to we have a couple games differences this week. I think we have 7 games that are actually 6 games that are different this week. So if I sweep the board, I'm only into 1 game against Jamie, and it's going to make for a tight Week 17. The ones where you get starting to a little tight. Jamie, we're going to move on from In the Pocket. Do you have any final thoughts going into this week before we do move on from the pocket? Talk a little bit about the Raptors before we conclude tonight's show.
Yeah, I think there's really the wild card spots aren't going to get locked up this week. But it's going to make it a lot more clear. I think teams are going to get eliminated, but nobody's going to secure a wild card spot. There's going to be at least the 6th seed up for grabs in both the AFC and the NFC going into Week 17, which makes it exciting. And teams are still going to be fighting for a home playoff game on wild card weekend. The AFC is still going to be fighting for who's going to have that number 2 seed and have a first-round bye. And the NFC is also going to be fighting for who has that 2 seed and a first-round bye. Other than either Kansas City or LA or New Orleans, those are really the only teams that have solidified that they're going to have a bye at this point. So it's exciting. I think I'm really excited to watch Indy go. I'm excited for us to watch that Pittsburgh-New Orleans game. Hopefully we can maybe get together and watch it with Dustin. We'll see. Yeah. Hopefully I can get Dustin there so we outnumber you, but you can maybe recruit a Pittsburgh fan. There's lots of them in the Sioux, so should be must-see TV. I'm excited. It's a great weekend slate of games. Sometimes when you get this late in the year, you have absolute stinkers, but we were going down that list, and there was maybe 2 games that I'm disinterested in. Yeah. I think the rest of them have implications. They're exciting, or they're good matchups straight up. So, again, this has been one of the best years of NFL that I can remember, probably in the last 5, where it's been competitive all the way to the end. Big upsets, teams are losing. It really proves that parity in the league is at an all-time high, and you're seeing it across other major sports. Look at how far the Vegas Golden Knights went last year. So parity across the league is what you want. NBA's got to catch up. Yes, but otherwise, the other 3 major leagues are on top of it, and I'm excited. Go Saints. Steelers suck. What else am I going to say? They do. They're terrible. They're not terrible, but I got to say it. Over to you.
Dave's game of the week is close between the Chiefs, Seahawks, Steelers, Saints, but for the sake of me and Jamie sitting at this table, I'm going to go Steelers and Saints for my game of the week. Could also classify Philly, Houston as well. What's your game of the week? Don't hesitate to comment below on the GameSportsShow.podbean.com or on the Facebook page. Jamie, I forgot one thing. In terms of after basketball, I'm going to let you do an update with college football. I'll make sure that I tell listeners that we're doing that. That's going to be you can consider that our round table, but it's mostly going to be your spearheading that to conclude the show. I want to jump in and talk about the Toronto Raptors here. That's going to conclude our In the Pocket segment of sorts for the Game Sports Show edition here at Sportscenter for December the 19th. But get into the Raptors. big win tonight, 99-96 over Indiana Pacers. Battled back in that fourth quarter, outscoring Indiana 24-11. They were down 17 going into, I think it was midway in the third, somewhere around that area. They were down by a lot, outscored in the first quarter. At home, the Raptors improved 24-9 on the year. Indiana Pacers are 20-12. Very good record, very good and very strategic basketball team are the Indiana Pacers. Raptors without Kyle Lowry in the lineup right now, but Kawhi and Serge Ibaka out as well, 2 key losses. But you have Kawhi Leonard, who got 28 points tonight, played extremely well, and battled back, and good teams find ways to win, Jamie. That is the big thing. When you are a good basketball team, good football team, good hockey team, does not matter, you find ways to win. The Raptors snapped a 2-game losing skid to get back into that win column. There's a couple games that slip away, but they were on the road in tough matchups, one of them against Denver. So you have to really think that the Raptors getting this wins a nice confidence boost. Are on home court. They continue their home court as they play Friday the 21st against the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that is quite lonely in the NBA right now, especially missing number 23. Your thoughts with the Toronto Raptors, quick, before we go over to you with college football.
Yeah, that was a big win for them. They really needed to get one. I mean, you lose 3 in a row, people start to kind of hit the panic button a little bit, despite your record. But really, they miss Kyle. That's the big thing right now. I think he's playing really well. Hopefully when he comes off of this injury, he's able to jump right back in or have not much of a learning curve, so to speak, when you get back in. Van Vliet had a decent game today. That was part of the difference. He struggled the last 2, and it really hurt them. And I think Kawhi's been playing steady. I think you saw Nick Nurse lose it on the NBA officials, and Kawhi was happy about it. I mean, you're always happy when your coach goes to bat for you, regardless of how he does it. I mean, as a player, some people just don't like bashing the refs in the public eye, which is it's a tough thing to do, and they have a tough job. But from a team perspective, I think this is going to help Toronto. I think it's going to bring them together. I think they've earned that respect. Nick Nurse being a rookie head coach in the league, I mean, he's obviously a Coach of the Year candidate right now. I think he's the leading guy by far. I don't think it's even close. If the Raptors are able to hang on to this 1 seed throughout the year, and they have a pretty big cushion despite being super early in the season, 4-game lead over the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference. But quality win. Indiana's a great team. They shut them down. Danny Green with a couple clutch free throws to end the game. Really give them that 3-point lead. And I'm excited to keep watching the Raptors, man.
What in the heck are the New York Knicks ever going to get better? That's one thing I want to talk about. For a second here, give them a little shout out. Poor Knicks fans. The evil empire when it comes to basketball is not the evil empire. Golden State's the evil empire, actually, the dynasty. But if you want to go that route, New York Knicks, when are they going to smarten up? What do they have to do to smarten up? Change management? They had Phil Jackson in there. He basically went in, exploded the place, and left. Yeah, pretty much. So, a lot of question marks in New York. The Suns struggling, but that was as expected. Team that surprised me that's struggling right now is the Houston Rockets. They might even be selling James Harden now, according to rumors. I had this team pegged to be on top of the Western Conference. And right now they're 11th. Denver's number 1. Golden State's number 2. Loving it. Lakers number 4. If you want a LeBron James update, if you care about LBJ. Moving on from basketball, Jamie, to wrap up the show, we're going to go into college football. This is all you. I'm going to talk about the update in the NCAA before we conclude tonight's show from Sportscenter Bar and Grill.
Yeah, we're right in the thick of bowl season, going into one of the busier Saturdays upcoming this week. And I'm excited to watch it. I mean, we got the Ohio and San Diego State game on right now. Ohio's up 27-0 with 12 minutes left in the game. They've dominated from start to finish. But we've seen some exciting games throughout the bowl season so far. I mean, we're talking about that Georgia Southern and Eastern Michigan game. Georgia Southern kicking a field goal with no time left to get the win. Unbelievable. Fresno State and Arizona State was pretty close as well. 31-20 win for Fresno State. The other 4 games have been kind of blowouts. Tulane getting a 41-24 win over University of Louisiana Lafayette. Forgive me. Utah State with a commanding 52-13 win over North Texas. Appalachian State proving that they are back. No longer considered. You can't even come close to considering them Division II team anymore. 45-13 win over Middle Tennessee, and then UAB with an explosion game versus Northern last night. And Ubosi, the receiver for UAB, was an absolute monster. Xavier Ubosi, this is a name you are going to hear in the NFL draft. I'm telling you, he is going to go in the top 15 in the first round. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver prospect. If he's not, if he drops, whoever gets him, this is a quality receiver. Despite the fact that he's at UAB, a program that had their football team taken away from them 4 years ago. He had 3 touchdowns, 227 yards. Could have had a 4th, but his quarterback overthrew him wide open. He was unstoppable, running by guys, route running, out jumping people. He's a freak. I'd almost give him that kind of like a Julio Jones meets Terrell Owens combo. He's not an absolute huge monster like Julio, but he's physical like Terrell was. I'm excited to watch this guy play. Moving forward, though, this upcoming Saturday, lots of big games. Houston and that Army, that's a big one. Memphis Wake Forest could be interesting, and then Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl versus Louisiana Tech. 4 back-to-back games starting at 12 noon, 3:37, and then 10:30 at night in Hawaii. So I'm excited. And then once we get past that, then we get into some of the ranked games. Moving forward, we got West Virginia, Syracuse, Iowa State, Washington State. That's always exciting to watch. I love Mike Leach. Florida and Michigan in the Peach Bowl. That's the one I'm waiting for. And then when we get closer to the new year, Saturday, December 29th, that's the big Saturday, 2 weeks from now. You have the Cotton Bowl with the 3-2 game, Notre Dame and Clemson. The Orange Bowl, Oklahoma, Alabama. Those are the big ones. I'm excited to watch. I love bowl season. It's my favorite time of year. I can't wait. There's football almost every single day. It's Christmas. There's parties going on. People are off.
Drinking.
We're doing this show. I love it. I know, Dave, I mean, you're a casual college football watcher. I know you love Oregon. You love the jerseys. They have a good game coming. I'm excited. I want to get I know you're not a big guy on college football, but I'm going to throw you under the bus here, and I'll give you a minute to think about it. I want to get your college football playoff predictions. So first you have Notre Dame versus Clemson. I want you to get a prediction on who wins that game. Alabama, Oklahoma, who wins that one, and then who wins head-to-head on January the 7th when they go head-to-head in the College Football National Championship. I'll start with my prediction so you have a minute to think about it.
Got it.
He's got it. Perfect. I'm curious to hear what you got to say before I taint your brain.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's why I wanted to say, because I already knew what I would kind of go with. I want to say first off that Notre Dame and Alabama will be the winner of those games. I want to go Notre Dame and Alabama. Alabama because of obvious reasons. One of the best football programs I've ever seen. I know Clemson has done it extremely well. Notre Dame, has really had a great year, and obviously they got a great team. Obviously they didn't have this kind of year last year. They've improved a lot the last couple of years. I have a soft spot for Michigan with Harbaugh. I know a lot of people may hate me saying that, but obviously that will not be the finals. But I'm going to say right now Notre Dame and Alabama, and I'm going to go the route, man, and tell you Notre Dame's winning it this year. I got a feeling for Notre Dame this year, and the reason why I want to go Notre Dame is because of that Cinderella-ness, even though it's not really a Cinderella, it kind of is. For a matchup against Alabama, it definitely would be. I really think that Notre Dame has really found it this year. They have that all-around game. I think in a gun matchup is where they're going to fault, though, against Alabama. I think they have to play that defense. I feel like they have to shut down and they have to get up early. I think if they get up early in Alabama, put them in a situation where Alabama's not used to, it could be like the 1980 Miracle on Ice. You want to go? I know that's a hockey reference, but when you get that, when you go against U.S. against a Soviet team that never was behind, they never had to pull their goalie before, they never had that. You put them in an issue where Alabama's like, whoa, what do we do here? Maybe that'll throw them off. Not saying it will, because they're amateur college players and they got a pretty good coach at the helm and all that kind of stuff. But Notre Dame's having a year to be remembered. And I have a feeling this is the year Notre Dame does it. I know a friend of the show, a friend of mine, Joe Bowen, Maple Leafs broadcast, is going to love me saying that as well if he tunes into our show here tonight, which I'm sure he does and will, especially when we're talking about Notre Dame and college football. So I'm going to go that route, Jamie. You didn't taint my brain. I already had that thought of before last week, actually. That's my matchup. And you heard it here first.
So I have the same matchup in the final as you. I think Notre Dame's going to get the win over Clemson. I think it's just going to be, despite Clemson being huge favorites and Notre Dame being an independent team, so they're always hard to read. You never really know. They didn't play any SEC teams. They didn't play anybody from any top 20 opponents, really. Syracuse would be the closest one. There's a couple other, they had some quality, other than Michigan, forgive me, in week 1. But I think Notre Dame's going to get the win in there. I think Alabama's going to beat Oklahoma. I love your comparison saying that Nick Saban is like the Soviet Union. I love that. That's hilarious.
Hey, you're surprised I said
they're a dynasty. That's so funny. And they've dominated. But Alabama got really tested in the Georgia game. Tua got hurt. Jalen Hurts had to come in. We're still not sure if Tua's going to play in the game against Oklahoma. He'll probably be healthy enough to play in the national championship if they beat Oklahoma, which I think they're going to. But that would be curious if him and Jalen are kind of flip-flopping back and forth. It worked out last year when they pulled Jalen at halftime against Georgia. Tua came in, brought him back, won in dramatic fashion. But lightning doesn't always strike twice. You never know. But I still think Alabama's going to beat Notre Dame in that game regardless. I think it's going to be close, but defense is really what it comes down to for me. Alabama's defense is so good every year. It would be a battle of unbeaten teams, which would be awesome to see. That's what you love. And, man, I say it every week. I love football. This is why I love football. Bowl season, NFL playoffs are wild. I hope my Michigan Wolverines can beat the Florida Gators in the Peach Bowl. I'm excited to watch that one. But, man, if Alabama goes down, that's like when the Patriots lose. It'd be the equivalent of the Giants beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl in 2007. That'd be the exact same thing.
And it can happen.
It can happen. Anything can happen on any given day. You saw Georgia almost did it, which is nice for teams because you're going to see the blueprint, what you got to do to get there, and then it's just about 4 or 5 plays in the game. Can you make those 4 or 5 plays go your way, make enough plays to win? I still think Alabama's going to win, but if they don't, I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm excited. I think any of these 4 teams, if Oklahoma somehow beats Alabama, man, there's no way I'm picking against Oklahoma in the national championship.
Good point if Oklahoma does get there, but I don't think they will. You're looking at Alabama. The evil empire of the NCAA. I've said the evil empire a couple times here tonight. I don't know if it's because I have a Kylo Ren ornament on my Christmas tree because of Dane Hantrow. Sorry, random reference, but it's a great example. Or the Soviet Union reference that I use. I like that. Jamie, action-packed show as always. We had Brad Coccimiglio come by here tonight for some hockey. Hockey on a Wednesday show, which is like really throwing it back to the Mr. Electric Avenue segment days and to Coffee with the Coach days. That we're looking at 2014, OG. But now you're looking at talking about the hockey, and we have a different agenda for the next couple weeks because the Christmas holidays. We're not back to Northern until January 3rd. Not back at Icebreaker until January 6th. But we're here next Thursday, not Wednesday, for Sportscenter at lunch. Lunch with Dave and Jamie, and maybe Matt and Dustin if they're here. Potentially talking about the Week 16 recap going to Week 17. We're going to do it in the pocket. So if you want to come join us for lunch, we can talk to you. Maybe you could be a fan guest on the show. Maybe even get your opinion. Never know. Mark Orlando and Anthony Miller were on the show as fan guests. It has happened, so you can do it. We'll be at SportsCenter next Thursday, January the 27th, and we'll be back to our regular schedule after that. So that's the only show with the Game Sports Show. The Wicked Sisters not back to January the 14th. Butch and Scott will be doing bonus uploads from Butch on Sports on the Game Sports Show entitlement, but in terms of the Game Sports Show as a general whole, the regular schedule, we only have one show until after the new year. We get some holidays in for the fellas to enjoy some family time. Now, Jamie, we talked, like I said, hockey. It was great. We talked football predictions, which I'm obviously going to sweep this week. It's quite obvious that I'm going to catch up to you. So enjoy first place in our Blake Wynnum Pick a League as much as you can, because I did come up all year and surprise everybody with my record. People weren't expecting that, but now I got to end with a bang. And I don't do it until last minute. It's like my studying with my exams, which is a course I passed, by the way. I'm going to throw that in. I went in with a low mark, passed with a pretty higher mark, which is nice. Studying pays off and stats pay off, folks, and that's what my picks were this week for Week 16. So if you're doing pick pro line, pick Dave, don't pick Jamie, all right? jokes aside, we talked football, we talked basketball, the Raptors, and college football. Hopefully you enjoyed everything here tonight. I want to say thank you to Scott Nason, our board operator tonight, whom, yes, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show. And if I'm taking a TSN reference, you blew it. Yeah, I blew it. I forgot to mention Scott. But I did not forget to mention the beautiful
Easy? Who are you talking about?
Alicia White.
I was waiting for you to say it. Easy.
Sportscenter Bar and Grill staff here. Been amazing as always, and Frank Ligori to you, the listeners, making us a part of your night as always. And of course, thanks to Brad Coccimiglio for coming by as well. Last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend, NASA and OFSA champ, player and coach, Jamie Antonello. Jamie, thanks, pal. See you next week.
Thanks, man. That was quite the send-off. Yeah, I'll be here Thursday.
And Merry Christmas.
You too as well. We'll see you on the 27th.
I hope Santa is good to you, bud. Did you ask for a lot of toys?
Define toys. We're adults now, so you got to think about different things.
Tonka truck, Thomas the Train, maybe Elmo squeeze toy, maybe Pokemon cards. Pokemon Stadium came out, if you want to go childish. I know a couple of people our age are playing Pokemon Stadium now, came out for a video game, but the new one.
Nothing wrong with Pokemon, but...
God, we like to have fun here on the Game Sports Show. Once again, thank you to the listeners. And until next Thursday from Sportscenter Bar and Grill on the 27th at noon, Steve McCaig sign off. Keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah, and Merry Christmas.